The person who annoys you the most in your life, the one who makes your skin crawl just by existing, is probably holding up a mirror, and you hate the reflection. What irritates you most in other people is almost never really about them, it's about you. And not just any part of you, the part you've been trying the hardest to hide. And until you understand that reflection, you will remain a prisoner to it. Because think about it, some people are objectively annoying, sure, but there are certain traits that don't just annoy you, they hit a nerve. Someone walks into the room and within 30 seconds we already decided that they're unbearable. Maybe it's the guy who's shamelessly ambitious, talks about money like it's oxygen, or maybe the person who's loud and takes up space like the room belongs to them, or the perfect coworker who corrects everyone with a smile which somehow makes it worse. And we tell ourselves it's because we have standards, because we value depth, authenticity, or whatever word feels right in the moment. But we rarely ask ourselves, why does it bother me this much? Because plenty of people exist in the world, plenty of them do annoying things, and yet certain things done by certain types of people get under my skin in a very specific personal way. That's not a coincidence. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists who ever lived, spent decades studying what he called the shadow. This was his term for the part of our personality that we reject, suppress, and refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. Jung noticed something strange in his patients. The qualities they despised the most in others were almost always qualities they had buried inside themselves. A man who hates dishonesty is often hiding his own capacity to deceive. A woman who can't tolerate vanity in others has often been told at some point in her life that caring about her appearance is shameful. Jung himself went through this. He had deep tensions with Sigmund Freud, his mentor, and when he finally did the hard work of examining why that relationship had become so painful, he found parts of himself he didn't want to face. Competitiveness, pride, a hunger for recognition he wasn't ready to admit. It was not easy for him to reach that conclusion, but he followed the irritation inward, and that's where the real work began. When you were young, very young, you were told explicitly or implicitly that certain things were bad. Maybe it was money, maybe it was ambition, maybe it was needing attention or being emotional or being too loud. Someone whose opinion mattered to you, a parent or a teacher, told you clearly or subtly, this is not acceptable, this is not who you should be. And that little kid, the one who just wanted to be loved and accepted, felt something terrible, shame. To a child, shame feels like death, so the kid made a decision, never again. Never again will I be that, never again will I feel that shame, so you pushed it down, you labeled the trait as bad, packed it into a box and sent it somewhere in a subconscious way you wouldn't have to deal with it. The problem is it didn't disappear, it just went underground. And now when you see someone else express that very thing freely, the thing you've been suppressing for 20, 30, 40 years, something in you reacts, not just with mild irritation, with heat, with intensity, because that person is doing something your psyche decided was not allowed. And they are doing it out in the open, unapologetically. Let's take the money example. If you were shamed for caring about money as a child, it made you feel greedy or dirty or wrong, so your mind tagged it dangerous, avoid. And today, without your conscious realizing it, every financial opportunity that arrives gets quietly sabotaged. You don't send the invoice, you undersell yourself, you talk yourself out of a negotiation. Why? Not because you're incapable, but because your subconscious is still running the code from when you were 6. It's protecting you from the shame of liking money. And the man who openly loves money, he enrages you, not because he's wrong, but because he is free in a way you don't allow yourself to be. Jung had a line for this. He said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Every strong emotional reaction you have to someone else's behavior is leading you back to something unresolved in you. Something that was labeled shameful before you were old enough to decide for yourself whether it actually was. Your enemies are your best cartographers. They are drawing a map of the parts of yourself that you have abandoned. If you constantly hate weak people, you are likely suppressing your own vulnerability. If you hate loud people, you are likely silencing your own voice. So what do you actually do with this? First, pause before you judge. Next time someone irritates you in that specific visceral way, don't just go with the feeling. Get curious. Ask yourself, what is it exactly that bothers me here? Name the trait. Show off, greedy, needy, lazy, controlling, attention-seeking. Second, trace it back. When did you first decide this trait was bad? Who told you? Was it actually true, or was it just one person's fear projected onto you when you were too small to push back? Third, consider the possibility that you are not angry at them. You are angry at the part of yourself you haven't made peace with yet. Have you ever wanted it, felt it, suppressed it? And fourth, use it. Integrate the adult version in a tiny dose. Allow the healthy expression. If you hate selfishness, practice saying no once. If you hate attention seeking, allow yourself to be seen. If you hate money hunger, practice charging fairly and not apologizing. If you hate arrogance, own one thing you're good at without shrinking. The goal isn't to become what you hate. The goal is to stop being haunted by it. So yeah, the people who drive you crazy, sometimes they are not your enemies. They are your shadow doing improv in public. Annoying? Yes. Convenient? Also yes, because every irritation is a free self-awareness lesson. And if you take it, you don't just get calmer, you get more whole. Because in the end, making peace with the people who drive you crazy is really just about making peace with the parts of yourself that you left behind.